It was supposed to be just another Tuesday evening at the local Jiu-Jitsu gym. The mats were freshly cleaned, the walls echoed with casual chatter, and students stretched in preparation for the night's drills. That's when she walked in wearing an oversized hoodie, hair tied in a loose ponytail, and carrying a duffel bag that had clearly seen better days. No one paid her much attention at first. She looked out of place, quiet, almost invisible. The kind of woman you wouldn't expect to see in a combat sports class, simple, shy, maybe even nervous. But by the end of that class, everyone in the room would be staring in disbelief. Because in just 14 seconds, she would do the unthinkable. The gym had its regulars, the loud ones, the skilled ones, and the ones who just liked to show off. Among them was Jake, a proud black belt known for his flashy techniques and loud mouth. He had a following, people who laughed at his jokes and nodded when he mocked newcomers. So when the woman stepped onto the mat for her first drill, Jake raised an eyebrow and smirked. "She's here to do yoga or jiu-jitsu?" he joked, loud enough for everyone to hear. A few chuckles followed. The woman, however, said nothing. She simply tied her white belt, nodded politely to the instructor, and took her spot. You could feel the tension in the room shift. It wasn't unusual for beginners to be treated with a bit of skepticism, but the way the others looked at her as if she was wasting their time was uncomfortable. During warm-ups, Jake made it a point to show off, using exaggerated movements and throwing in comments like, "Let's hope she doesn't break a nail." The woman didn't react. She just focused, moved silently, and followed instructions with perfect attention. Some noticed her form was surprisingly clean, but they brushed it off. Maybe she watched a lot of videos online, they guessed. As the class moved into light sparring, partners were chosen, and Jake, either out of boredom or a twisted sense of fun, volunteered to go with her. "Don't worry," he said with a grin, "I'll go easy on her." The instructor gave a hesitant nod. Everyone stood around, expecting a short and awkward match. Phones were even pulled out to record, probably for a private group chat later. What happened next, though, would erase every smirk from the room. They slapped hands. The timer started. And within seconds, Jake's expression changed from cocky to confused. Before anyone could understand what was happening, the woman had shifted her weight, rolled under his grip, and locked in a submission that had the black belt tapping furiously just 14 seconds in. Silence fell. Then gasps. No one moved. Was this luck? A fluke? Or was there more to this so-called beginner than anyone realized? And as Jake sat there red-faced and panting, the woman simply stood, offered him a hand, and walked back to her corner like nothing happened. But what no one knew yet, what would shake that entire gym to its core, was her real story. Where she came from, what she had been through, and why that 14-second submission was just the beginning. Stay tuned, because the truth behind her silence is something no one was ready for. After that shocking moment on the mat, the atmosphere in the gym shifted from amused curiosity to stunned silence. Jake didn't say a word. He sat there for a while, rubbing his shoulder, probably trying to figure out what just happened. A few people laughed nervously, brushing it off like it was some kind of accident. But the more experienced students exchanged glances. They knew. What she did wasn't just lucky, it was precise, intentional. The kind of move that takes years to master, not something you pull off after watching YouTube tutorials. But still, no one asked her anything. She didn't offer an explanation either. After bowing respectfully at the end of class, she picked up her bag and quietly left, just as unnoticed as when she arrived. The instructor, Coach Rick, watched her closely as she walked out. His face showed something between curiosity and disbelief. He'd been teaching jiu-jitsu for almost 20 years, and he could spot skill from a mile away. Something about her didn't add up. The next day, whispers started floating around. "She must have trained before," one student said. "Maybe she's from another gym and just came here for fun." "I think she was testing us," another added. Jake, embarrassed but still trying to save face, told a few people he wasn't going full strength or that he let her win to encourage her. But deep down, everyone knew the truth. He tapped out fast and he tapped out hard. Nobody really knew much about her. No social media pages, no gym friends, not even a proper name. She had signed in as Anna M. Just that. She paid cash for her trial class and never spoke unless it was to respond to a direct question. There was something private, even guarded, about her. She didn't wear fancy gear or expensive rash guards. Everything she had looked old and used. But when she moved on the mat, there was a quiet confidence in her body language. Like someone who had been through much worse than rolling with a cocky black belt. Coach Rick decided to review the footage from the class. The gym had a security camera installed for safety, and luckily it captured the sparring session in full. He watched the clip multiple times, pausing, rewinding, slowing it down frame by frame. Her movements were smooth, almost too smooth for someone who claimed to be a beginner. The way she secured the R-bar wasn't flashy, but it was efficient and deadly accurate. No wasted motion. No hesitation. That's not something you learn in a few classes. That's muscle memory. That night, Rick sat at his desk long after the lights had gone off in the gym. He couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this woman than met the eye. Maybe she was hiding something. Or maybe she had a reason to stay quiet. In martial arts, people don't just appear out of nowhere with that kind of skill. There's always a backstory. Pain, loss, training, maybe even running from something. Or someone. Meanwhile, Anna, if that was her real name, sat alone in a small apartment a few blocks away. The walls were bare, and the only decoration was a worn-out photograph of two people in Jiu-Jitsu uniforms smiling under a gold tournament banner. She stared at the photo for a long time, her fingers tracing the edge of it. Then she placed it face down on the table and began wrapping her knuckles with an old cloth wrap, slow and deliberate. Whatever brought her to that gym, she wasn't finished yet. The following week, Anna returned to the gym quiet, focused, just like before. No big entrance, no explanation. She signed in, bowed to Coach Rick, and went straight to warm-up. But this time, people watched her differently. The same students who barely noticed her before now whispered her name. Some were curious, others cautious. A few even looked a little nervous. Jake didn't show up that night, which only added fuel to the rumors. No one really knew if he was avoiding her or just licking his wounds in private. Coach Rick decided to keep a close eye on her. He paired her with different students during drills, blue belts, purple belts, even another brown belt who had competed in state tournaments. And time after time, Anna moved like water. She didn't overpower anyone, didn't show off, didn't even speak unless needed. But she flowed through techniques with a kind of grace that made people stop what they were doing just to watch. She wasn't just good, she was trained. Polished. The kind of skill you only get from years of experience, long hours on the mat, and maybe even professional coaching. Still, she kept wearing that white belt like it meant nothing. And no one dared question it directly. Outside of the gym, Anna kept to herself. She worked at a small bookstore a few blocks away, doing inventory and handling customers with the same calm, quiet demeanor. People often overlooked her there too, just another simple woman stocking shelves. But occasionally, someone would catch a glimpse of the bruises on her wrists or the way she moved heavy boxes like they weighed nothing. More than once, someone asked if she used to be an athlete. She always smiled and said, "Not really." Meanwhile, Coach Rick began digging. He searched old tournament records, checked social media groups, even reached out to contacts from other gyms. He couldn't find anything under the name Anna M. No photos. No rankings. No history. It was like she'd never existed in the Jiu-Jitsu world. But deep down, he knew that couldn't be true. Her technique was too advanced to come from nowhere. And the way she avoided attention, it wasn't just modesty. It felt intentional. Then came the night that changed everything. A new student arrived, mid-30s, confident, wearing a sleek black GI and a brown belt tied tight around his waist. He introduced himself as Devin. Said he had just moved to town looking for a place to train. From the moment he stepped onto the mat, his eyes scanned the room. And when they landed on Anna, something shifted. A flicker of recognition. She noticed too. Her entire body tensed, even if her face stayed calm. They didn't speak, but the silence between them said everything. Devin waited until open mat to approach her. "I didn't think I'd see you again," he said, just loud enough for her to hear. Anna didn't respond. She simply stood, bowed, and walked to the center of the mat. The room went quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing. No one knew who this man really was. No one knew what history he shared with Anna. But one thing was clear: the calm, quiet woman with the white belt wasn't hiding her skill for no reason. And whatever had just walked into that gym, it was about to bring everything to the surface. The mat felt colder than usual that night. The entire gym seemed to hold its breath as Anna and Devin faced each other. No one spoke. Even Coach Rick stayed quiet, though his mind raced. He didn't know what was going on between them, but he could feel the weight of it. Something was coming to the surface, something buried deep. Anna tightened her belt slowly, every motion deliberate. Devin's smile was calm, but it didn't reach his eyes. There was history between them, and whatever it was, it had nothing to do with belts or rankings. The match hadn't even started, but the tension in the air made it feel like everyone was standing in the middle of a storm just waiting to break. They bowed. Then, with a slap of the hands, they began. At first, the movements were subtle. Grip fighting. Positioning. Testing. But anyone watching closely could see it wasn't a normal roll. There was too much emotion behind each move. Too much control. Devin pushed the pace, trying to drive her backward, but Anna didn't budge. She pivoted smoothly, countered with clean technique, and blocked every attempt to dominate. Coach Rick stepped closer to the edge of the mat, his arms folded tightly. It was rare to see two people so evenly matched, especially when one of them was supposed to be a beginner. Students circled around, watching in silence. Some whispered, "Is this a real fight? Do they know each other? She's not even trying to win. She's holding back." And they were right. Anna wasn't going for the finish. She was defending, controlling, managing the space like someone who knew exactly what the other person was capable of. Devin suddenly picked up speed. He went for a takedown, clean, aggressive, professional. But Anna saw it coming. She sprawled, flipped him over her hip, and landed in a dominant position. Gasps echoed across the gym. She didn't celebrate. She didn't even blink. She just held the position and waited, as if giving him a chance to reset. But Devin didn't take it well. He grunted, frustrated, and tried to muscle his way out. But she wasn't giving in. She flowed with his energy, reversed his pressure, and locked him into a tight triangle position. She didn't tighten it. Just held it. Enough to show she could finish it if she wanted to. Then, for the first time, she spoke. Soft, calm. "You should have stayed away." It sent a chill down Rick's spine. Devin froze, the fight drained out of him in an instant. He tapped, not out of pain, but out of understanding. Anna let go and stood. She didn't look at anyone. Just walked off the mat and grabbed her bag. Coach Rick couldn't take it anymore. He followed her outside, calling her name. She stopped under the dim streetlight outside the gym, the cold air misting around her breath. "Who are you?" he asked genuinely. Not with suspicion, but with concern. She looked at him, finally meeting his eyes. And in that brief moment, something cracked in her expression. Not fear. Not pride. Just years of weight finally surfacing. But before she could speak, a black car pulled up near the curb. Tinted windows. Engine still running. And just like that, the mystery wasn't just about Anna's past in Jiu-Jitsu anymore. It was something much deeper, much darker. And it had just arrived at their doorstep. The black car idled at the curb, its engine humming low like a warning. Anna's eyes didn't leave it, her entire body going still. Coach Rick stood beside her, confused but alert. "Do you know them?" he asked quietly. Anna didn't answer. Her jaw clenched slightly as she took a step back, the streetlight casting long shadows behind her. The car door cracked open, just a few inches, and that was enough. She turned sharply to Rick and said, "I need to go." Her voice was low, urgent, almost pleading, but not scared. Just determined. "Anna, wait," Rick said, reaching for her arm, but she was already walking fast toward the side alley next to the gym. The car door opened fully now, and a tall man in a black coat stepped out. He scanned the sidewalk like he was searching for something or someone. His face was hard, unreadable, but his eyes locked onto where Anna had just been standing seconds earlier. Too late. Rick turned to follow, but the man in the coat looked at him for a long beat before nodding once and getting back in the car. The door shut. The engine revved slightly, then the car pulled off slowly, disappearing down the dark street. Rick hurried into the alley behind the gym. Anna was there, leaning against the brick wall, breathing hard, not from running, but from holding something in. She looked up at him, her calm cracking just a little. "That man," Rick said. "Who was he?" She hesitated, then finally spoke. "He's the reason I stopped fighting." That was all she said. But it was enough to confirm everything Rick had been wondering. Anna wasn't just some casual jiu-jitsu enthusiast. She had a past, and that past had just come looking for her. Back inside the gym, the students were still buzzing about the match with Devin. No one could believe how it ended. Devin had quietly left after tapping, not saying a word to anyone, but his expression said plenty. He hadn't come for a casual roll. He came to provoke, to expose, and instead, he got reminded of exactly what Anna was capable of. Outside, the night grew colder. Anna and Rick stood in silence, the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavy between them. And deep down, Rick knew this wasn't over. Whatever was chasing Anna was just getting started. 2 days passed without any sign of Anna. She didn't return to the gym. She didn't show up at the bookstore. It was like she'd vanished. Coach Rick tried calling the number she left on the sign-up sheet, but it went straight to voicemail. Still, something told him she hadn't run away, she was preparing. That night, just before closing, Rick heard the gym door open. He turned, half expecting a late student, but it was her. Anna walked in slowly, wearing her old white belt. But this time, there was no attempt to blend in. She looked different, more focused, more resolved. "I'm ready," she said simply. "But I need to ask you something. If things go bad, don't get involved." Rick didn't ask questions. He just nodded. Half an hour later, the black car returned, but this time it didn't wait by the curb. It pulled straight into the gym's lot. Devin stepped out first, followed by the man in the coat. The same one from the other night. Anna was already waiting in the center of the mat, barefoot, calm. Devin looked uneasy, like he hadn't expected her to be here. But the man in the coat? He looked pleased. "You always did know how to make an entrance," he said. Anna nodded. "You always did like games." The man stepped onto the mat. "One last roll, Anna. If you win, we're done. We disappear. You have my word." "And if I lose?" she asked. "You come back. No more hiding." Everyone in the gym froze. No one understood what was really at stake, but they could feel it. The air thickened as they bowed. The roll began fast. Not playful. Not technical. Real. Grit and muscle, skill and instinct colliding at full speed. The man was stronger, older, more aggressive. But Anna was precise. Patient. She let him push, let him tire. Then, in one breathless moment, she shifted her weight, trapped his arm, and locked in the same submission she had used on Jake that first day. 14 seconds. The man didn't tap right away, but he did eventually. Not from pain, but because he knew he'd lost. She let go, stepped back, and looked him in the eye. He stood, dusted off his sleeves, and said nothing as he walked out. The students erupted in disbelief. Rick smiled, proud. But just as Anna started to remove her belt, she found something folded in her GI pocket. A note. "You won tonight, but not all battles are fought on mats. D." And just like that, Anna realized the past might be finished with jiu-jitsu, but it wasn't finished with her. Anna sat alone on the edge of the mat long after everyone else had gone home. The note from Devin, short, cryptic, rested in her open palm. The victory had been clean, decisive, but that message reminded her that life's toughest battles weren't always fought in a GI under bright lights. Some were quiet, hidden, and ongoing. Coach Rick joined her in silence, handing her a bottle of water. "You gonna tell me what all that was about someday?" he asked with a gentle smile. She chuckled softly. "Maybe. It's a long story. Some parts I'm still figuring out myself." Over the next few weeks, Anna returned to the gym regularly. No more white belt. Coach Rick handed her a brown belt, and though the students were surprised, no one questioned it anymore. She'd proven herself on and off the mat. The rumors died down, replaced by respect. Even Jake returned eventually, offering a quiet apology. Devin was gone, and the man in the coat hadn't been seen again, but Anna knew better than to believe it was all over. Still, something inside her had shifted. She wasn't hiding anymore. She wasn't shrinking. She was standing tall, not just as a fighter, but as a woman who had faced her past and decided not to let it define her. And maybe that was the real submission victory, not the one in 14 seconds, but the one that took years. Quiet strength. Persistence. Grace under pressure. As she closed the gym one night, Coach Rick called out, "You're staying for open mat tomorrow?" Anna paused at the door and smiled. Wouldn't miss it. The lights dimmed behind her as she stepped into the night, not as a mystery, not as a simple woman in a white belt, but as someone who had earned every ounce of respect, one roll at a time.